My phone rang at 3 a.m. It was my sister, Claire. Her voice was sugar-sweet, almost syrupy, as she said, "Naomi, Dad's lawyer just called. Turns out the inheritance paperwork had some errors. I'm the sole beneficiary now. The house, the investments, everything. Dad must have changed his mind before he died. Anyway, I'm selling the house next week. You have until Friday to get your stuff out. Night!" She hung up before I could even process what she'd said. 48 hours. That's all she gave me to pack up the memories of our childhood home. The home our father had promised would be split between us equally. But there was something my dear sister didn't know, something that would make her regret every word of that phone call. My name is Naomi Price. I'm 34 years old. Until 3 days ago, I thought I knew my sister. We weren't close, but we were civil. We had survived our mother's death when I was 12 and Claire was 15. We had built separate lives, me as a nurse at County General, Claire as a real estate agent in the wealthy part of town. Different worlds, different values, but still sisters. Our father, Martin Price, had been a high school history teacher for 38 years. He lived simply, drove a 15-year-old sedan, and wore the same 3 blazers in rotation. To anyone looking from the outside, he was a modest man with a modest pension. Claire certainly thought so. She would roll her eyes when he'd suggest we meet at the local diner instead of the trendy restaurants she preferred. She'd make comments about upgrading his lifestyle and finally enjoying retirement properly. But I knew something Claire didn't. I knew because I had spent the last 5 years of Dad's life actually being present. While Claire sent birthday cards with generic messages, I drove 2 hours every Saturday to have lunch with him. While she called once a month with updates about her real estate sales, I helped him organize his medications and took him to doctor's appointments. And during one of those appointments, 6 months before he died, Dad had pulled me aside in the hospital cafeteria and said, "Naomi, there's something you need to know, but promise me you won't tell Claire. Not yet." That conversation had changed everything, but I had kept my promise, and now, 3 months after we buried Dad, Claire was about to discover that our quiet, humble father had been hiding a secret that would shatter every assumption she'd ever made. The morning after Claire's phone call, I took a personal day from the hospital. I needed time to think, to process, to plan. I sat in my small apartment with a cup of coffee and the manila envelope Dad had given me that day in the hospital cafeteria. "Open this after I'm gone," he had said, "and only when you're ready to use what's inside. Claire will show her true colors eventually. When she does, you'll know what to do." I opened it the day after his funeral. Inside was a letter in Dad's neat handwriting, along with several legal documents, account statements, and a small key. The letter explained everything. Dad hadn't been just a teacher, he had been an investor. A brilliant one. Starting in his 30s, he had taken small amounts from each paycheck and invested them carefully in index funds, municipal bonds, and carefully researched stocks. Over 40 years, those modest investments had grown into something extraordinary. Dad was worth $4.2 million. He owned our childhood home outright, worth $800,000. He had investment accounts totaling $2.8 million. He had a life insurance policy worth $400,000, and he had a safety deposit box containing gold coins and rare stamps worth another $200,000. But the most important document in that envelope was his will, the real will. Dated 2 months before his death, notarized and legally binding. It split everything 50-50 between Claire and me. There was also a letter from his lawyer, Michael Chen, explaining that Dad had been concerned about Claire's increasingly materialistic behavior and had taken precautions. If anyone tries to contest this will or forge documents to change the distribution, Dad's letter read, Mr. Chen has instructions to delay probate for 6 months while investigating the claim. During that time, I want you to observe how your sister behaves. Let her reveal who she truly is. Then, when the truth comes out, she'll understand why I had to be so careful. Dad knew. Somehow he had known that Claire would try something like this, and he had prepared me for this. I called Michael Chen that morning. He answered on the second ring. "Miss Price, I've been expecting your call. I assume your sister has contacted you. She called at 3 a.m. to tell me she's the sole beneficiary and I have to move out by Friday." "I see. And did she show you any legal documents?" "No, she just said there were errors in the paperwork and that Dad changed his mind." "Miss Price, your father's will has not been through probate yet. It's impossible for your sister to be selling the house. In fact, the house is in a trust that prevents either of you from selling it for at least 6 months after his death. Your sister is either lying or she's been lied to." "What should I do?" "Exactly what your father instructed. Let her continue. Don't confront her yet. Let me do some investigating. I'll call you in 48 hours. I hung up and sat in the silence of my apartment. Claire was lying, but why, and how far would she go? I decided to play along. I texted Claire, "Can we talk about this? I just need to understand what happened." Her response came immediately. "Nothing to talk about. Dad's decision is final. Be out by Friday." No empathy, no explanation, just a cold dismissal. That afternoon, I drove to our childhood home. Claire's BMW was in the driveway, and there was a "for sale" sign on the lawn. I felt my stomach drop. She hadn't wasted any time. I knocked on the door. Claire opened it, dressed in an expensive pantsuit, phone in hand. She looked annoyed to see me. "Naomi, what are you doing here?" "I came to start packing, like you said." She stepped aside, barely looking at me. "Fine, but don't take anything valuable. I'm having everything appraised." I walked through the house where we grew up. Nothing had changed. Dad's reading chair still sat by the window. His books lined the shelves. His coffee mug was still on the kitchen counter, exactly where I'd left it after cleaning out the house following the funeral. "Claire, can I see the paperwork? I just want to understand." "It's all legal," Claire said. "Dad changed his mind. Maybe he finally realized who actually had a future worth investing in." "What does that mean?" "It means you're a nurse making $60,000 a year, living in a tiny apartment, driving a 10-year-old Honda. I'm a successful real estate agent. I close million-dollar deals. Dad saw that I could actually do something with an inheritance. You'd probably just use it to pay off student loans." There it was, the truth beneath the surface. Claire didn't just think she deserved the inheritance more, she thought she was worth more as a person. "I see," I said quietly. "When did Dad tell you he was changing the will?" She hesitated just for a second. "A few weeks before he died, he called me, said he wanted everything to go to me." It was a lie. Dad was in the hospital those last few weeks, barely conscious. I had been there every day. Claire had visited once, stayed for 20 minutes, and left because she had a showing. "Okay, Claire, I'll pack my things." I went upstairs to my old bedroom. It looked exactly as I'd left it when I moved out for college. Dad had kept it like a shrine. I sat on the bed and called Michael Chen. "She's lying," I told him. "She said Dad called her weeks before he died to tell her about the will, but Dad was in the hospital, unconscious most of that time." "That's very useful information, Miss Price. Let me investigate further. In the meantime, do not move out. You have every legal right to be in that house. But the sale cannot happen without probate clearance. Your sister is about to encounter some very significant legal obstacles." That night, I stayed at the house. Claire left around 8 p.m. for a dinner meeting. I walked through the rooms, remembering. Dad reading to us in the living room, Mom teaching us to bake in the kitchen before she got sick, family dinners at the old oak table. And then I found it. In Dad's study, in the locked drawer I had a key for, there was a notebook, Dad's investment journal. Page after page of calculations, research notes, and strategy. The last entry was dated a week before he died. "If you're reading this, Naomi, it means I'm gone. I'm sorry I couldn't tell you everything in person. Claire doesn't know about the investments because I knew what she'd do. She'd spend it all trying to impress people who don't matter.
You, my dear girl, you understand value, real value, not the price of things, but the worth of character, kindness, sacrifice. That's why half of everything is yours, not because I love you more, but because I trust you more. Make sure Claire learns something from this. She needs to understand that greed has consequences. I love you both, Dad. I sat in his chair and cried, not from sadness, but from a mixture of grief and anger and love. Dad knew. He had seen through Claire's mask and had prepared me for this exact moment. Friday came. I didn't move out. Instead, I was at the house when Claire arrived with a potential buyer, a young couple looking at their first home.
Claire's face went red when she saw me. Naomi, what are you doing here? I told you to be out by today. I decided to stay. This is my home too. The couple looked confused. The husband asked, "Is there a problem with the sale?" Claire forced a smile. No problem. My sister is just being difficult. She'll be gone soon." "Actually," I said calmly, "this house is in probate. It can't be sold for at least 6 months, and the ownership is disputed." The wife's eyes widened. "You're selling a house that's in probate? Without clear title?" Claire shot me a look of pure hatred. "Naomi, step outside, now." The couple left quickly, mumbling about calling their lawyer. Claire waited until they were gone before exploding. "What the hell are you doing? Do you know how much commission I would have made on that sale?" "You can't sell what isn't yours, Claire." "It is mine. Dad left everything to me." "Then show me the will, the actual legal document, not your word. Show me proof." She faltered. "The lawyer has it." "What lawyer? Give me a name." "That's none of your business." "It is if you're trying to sell our family home out under me." Claire grabbed her designer bag and stormed toward the door. "You're going to regret this, Naomi. I'll have you removed by the police if I have to." "Go ahead. Call them. I'd love to explain the situation to law enforcement." She didn't call. She left, tires screeching as she pulled out of the driveway. Michael Chen called me an hour later. "Miss Price, I have news. Your sister filed a fraudulent will with the county clerk's office. It's a forgery, a very poor one. The signature doesn't match your father's, and the notary stamp is fake. I've reported it to the authorities. They're opening an investigation." "She forged Dad's will?" "Yes, and attempted to file it as legitimate. That's a felony. Miss Price, your sister is in serious legal trouble." I sat down, the weight of it hitting me. Claire hadn't just lied. She had committed a crime against our father, against me, against everything our family was supposed to be. What happens now? "The district attorney will likely want to speak with you. They'll need your testimony. Your sister will probably be arrested within the next week. I'm sorry, Miss Price. I know this is your family." "Not anymore," I said quietly. "Not after this." The next few days were a blur. I stayed at the house, going through Dad's things, finding more evidence of his secret wealth. Bank statements hidden in books, stock certificates in the attic, a safety deposit box key taped to the back of a framed photo of Mom. Claire called me 6 times. I didn't answer. She left voicemails that went from angry to desperate. "Naomi, please, we need to talk. Don't do anything stupid." "Naomi, pick up the phone. This is serious." "Naomi, please, we can work this out. I made a mistake." "Naomi, if you go to the cops, you'll regret it. I'm serious." "Naomi, I'm sorry, okay? I'm sorry. Please call me back." I didn't call back. On Tuesday, exactly 1 week after Claire's 3 a.m. phone call, 2 detectives came to the house. They asked me questions for 2 hours. I told them everything: the phone call, the fake will, Claire's lies about Dad's final weeks. I showed them the real will, Dad's letter, the evidence. One detective, a woman in her 50s, looked at me with sympathy. "Miss Price, I'm sorry you're going through this. For what it's worth, you're doing the right thing. This kind of fraud, it's not just about money. It's about respecting the wishes of someone who can't defend themselves anymore." That afternoon, Claire was arrested at her office. I know because it was all over the local news. local real estate agent arrested for will forgery. Her mugshot showed her in her expensive suit, mascara running, looking nothing like the polished professional she pretended to be. She called me from jail. I answered this time. Naomi, you have to help me, please. I made a mistake, a stupid mistake, but we're family. Did you think about family when you forged Dad's will? When you tried to steal my inheritance? When you gave me 48 hours to pack up my childhood home? I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. I have debts, okay? I'm drowning in debt. The cars, the clothes, the lifestyle. I'm broke, Naomi. I thought if I could just get the house, sell it quickly, I could fix everything. There it was, the truth. All of Claire's success, all of her luxury, all of her superiority, it was built on credit cards and loans. She was broke. So you thought you'd steal from your own sister? I didn't think you'd fight back. You're so nice, Naomi. You're always so understanding. I thought you'd just accept it and move on. You thought I was weak. No, I needed the money more than you. You have your job, your apartment, you're fine. I was losing everything. And your solution was to commit a felony? She started crying, real, ugly crying. Please, Naomi, please don't let them do this to me. I'm your sister. You're the person who tried to steal from me. That's all you are now. I hung up. Michael Chen handled everything. The real will went through probate smoothly. 3 months after Dad's death, the estate was settled. I received exactly what Dad intended, 50% of everything, $2.1 million. I paid off my student loans. Claire had been right about that. But that was only $40,000. The rest I invested. I bought a small house with a yard. I set up a scholarship fund in Dad's name for nursing students. I donated to the hospital where he'd spent his final weeks. And I kept the childhood home. I couldn't bring myself to sell it. Instead, I renovated it and turned it into a halfway house for women leaving abusive situations. Dad would have loved that. Claire went to trial. She pled guilty to forgery and attempted fraud. The prosecutor was surprisingly lenient. She got 3 years probation, 500 hours of community service, and a $50,000 fine she couldn't pay. Her real estate license was revoked. Her reputation was destroyed. I saw her once during those months at a coffee shop near the courthouse. She looked different, thinner, older. Her designer clothes were gone, replaced with plain jeans and a sweater. She saw me and froze. I could have walked away. Part of me wanted to, but something Dad wrote in his letter stopped me. Claire will need forgiveness someday, not because she deserves it, but because that's what family does. Don't give her money, don't give her anything she didn't earn, but give her a chance to earn back her dignity. I walked over to her table. She looked up at me with hollow eyes. Naomi, I'm so sorry for everything. I know. I ruined everything. My career, my reputation, my family. I lost everything. No, said I, sitting down. You lost the things you thought mattered. You still have a chance to find what actually does. I don't even know where to start. I slid a business card across the table. This is the director of the halfway house, the one I opened in Dad's home. She's looking for volunteers, administrative work, organizing donations, that kind of thing. It doesn't pay, but it might help you understand something Dad tried to teach us. Claire picked up the card, her hands trembling. Why are you doing this? Because Dad asked me to, not in words, but in his example. He saw who Claire really was, not the successful real estate agent, not the polished professional. He saw the scared, desperate person underneath, and he still loved her. He still left her half of everything. You threw that away when you forged Dad's will, but you're still my sister, and Dad would want me to give you a chance to become someone worth being. She started crying. I don't deserve this. No, you don't. But Dad taught me that grace isn't about deserving, it's about choosing to be better than the hurt someone caused you. I stood up to leave. Claire grabbed my hand. Naomi, thank you.
I'll call her, the director, I promise. Don't promise me, Claire. Promise yourself. And this time, keep it. I walked out of that coffee shop feeling lighter than I had in months. I had done what Dad asked. I had given Claire consequences, but also a path forward. What she did with it was her choice. 6 months later, I got a text from Claire, just a photo. It was her at the halfway house, helping a woman fill out job applications. She looked tired, but genuine. No designer clothes, no fake smile. Just my sister doing actual work, maybe for the first time in her life. I texted back. Dad would be proud. Her response came immediately. I hope so. I'm trying. That was enough. Not forgiveness, not reconciliation, just a beginning, a chance. I drive past Dad's house, the halfway house, every few weeks. Sometimes I see Claire's car there, sometimes I don't. Either way, I know Dad's legacy is bigger than the money he left behind. It's in the women finding safety in his home. It's in the scholarship students studying nursing in his name. It's in my sister slowly learning that worth isn't measured in commission checks and designer bags. And it's in me living the life Dad taught me to value. Simple, meaningful, rich in the ways that actually matter. I think about that 3 a.m. phone call sometimes. Claire's voice, so confident, so certain she had won. She thought Dad's inheritance was about money. She thought she could steal it and get away with it. She thought I was too weak to fight back. She was wrong about all of it. The real inheritance wasn't the $2.1 million. It was Dad's lesson. Character matters more than wealth. Integrity outlasts luxury. And family isn't about blood. It's about who shows up when things get hard. Claire learned that lesson the hardest way possible, but at least she learned it. And that, more than any amount of money, is what Dad really left us.